one becomes aware of the presence of divinity in all that exists. Huh? This brings one to a sense of completion and joy. So the source of joy is now not outside oneself. It's the awareness of the presence of God as the source of your own existence in this instant. So the source of joy is now stemming from within oneself as a realization. This makes you independent of the external world. Whether breakfast arrives or not is irrelevant, frankly. Whether anything happens that you would like to happen, whether it happens or doesn't happen, is really quite irrelevant. You've now become independent of the world. You're no longer at the effect of the world. What the world does, says, thinks is irrelevant, frankly. And you have to remind yourself that other people value such things. They value such things as the year of your car and all. I myself drive a Cadillac. What year? 84. I also have a Chrysler at home. It's also an 84. No, you become independent of what the world thinks. It's not that you're oblivious of it and not in denial about it, but it no longer runs you. So you're not run by the world, you're not run by what the world thinks of you, although you take it into consideration. This brings you eventually into a state of joy, eventually into a state of bliss, and the higher levels of consciousness become difficult in our world. You can operate very well here. You can operate very well here. It becomes more difficult to operate at 540 and above. And by 580, it's not possible to operate in the world because it goes from joy in the high 500s into ecstasy. It goes from joy into ecstasy. And in ecstasy, you can't function. It's difficult to function in joy, and in ecstasy, it's impossible. The ecstatic state is what I try to avoid before I give a lecture, because it started to recur this morning, and I said, you better stop now. Because you're not able to function. And one begins to weep with joy, which is traditional in monasteries. People sometimes weep for several years as you go into that state, because the divinity of all that exists begins to present itself in a profound state of, the only way out of ecstasy is to surrender ecstasy to God. And that's what I had to do. You surrender ecstasy to God, because as you go up, you surrender everything to God, no matter what it is. That's a reliable teaching from Zen and for meditation. Surrender to whatever presents itself, no matter what. Now, no matter what is where people fall back and reach almost a state of enlightenment, and they fall back. Because it says, no matter what. The ecstasy is so overwhelming and so overpowering, divine in its origin, that one has to surrender. This seems unthinkable. And then you remember the teaching from Zen. You walk straight ahead and you surrender the ecstasy to God. And as you surrender the ecstasy to God, then emerges a state of profound revelation in the presence of divinity.